So in terms of, just for those of, obviously the people that listen to this podcast are the lay public mostly. That's usually who's listening. And I think they're always interested in how kind of we got there. But from a standpoint of where you're going, like, what are your plans? What are you going to do? What are you going to do after this fellowship? Do you have any idea what you want to do, Neil?
That's the $1 million question. And just find a job.
It is literally the $1 million question, isn't it? Because you'll need $1 million if you go open a practice.
I know. No, I think I want to do something that incorporates some reconstructive surgery, because I've spent so long getting all those repetitions and helping so many patients as a resident. It would be really nice to now be on the other side of the street there and being an attending, and them looking at me as their primary plastic surgeon. But also, I mean, I've invested now a year in this, and I'm very, very interested in aesthetic surgery, which is why I did this, and harness and sharpen my skills. So I'd love to find a job that I can possibly do both, and that's the goal.
Academic or private?
Probably private practice.
There are a ton of academic centers that would love to get their mitts on you guys to open the aesthetic surgery practice in the residency.
It's very hard to get an aesthetically trained surgeon, especially once they've been in practice for a little bit, to go and work in an academic center, because they are two totally separate worlds. And that would be a high demand, person who would be willing to really do both at that kind of high level.
Yeah, so I remember Quan was thinking about that too.
Mm-hmm.
When he first came, he was sort of coming back from UCSF, and I talked to their folks, and like, maybe he'll come back and open aesthetic, because they had worked with Gil Gradinger for a long time, and he passed away, and Gil was like a huge part of that residency, and so like they haven't replaced him really, and it's hard to get that person in these residency programs who are going to really take the residents through aesthetic surgery cases. But when you're young and you're starting off, you have all kinds of choices.
All options.
It's all open.
For sure. Yeah.
It's exciting for sure. I don't. I'm an open canvas, looking all throughout the country at this point right now, from the East Coast to the West Coast to the Midwest. So it's honestly, I feel blessed. There's a bunch of opportunities that have already kind of popped up, and I was not expecting them to come this early on in the process, since this is a 1-year fellowship and it goes from July to July. But I feel lucky, and we'll kind of have to see.
Well, if you're willing to go anywhere more or less in the country, you're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
It's if you really are, for what a lot of us are very, location bound for reasons, family, etc. And that can make it really challenging, especially to find the job that you really want. But if you are open to going anywhere, that's super helpful. I think what is the quote about New York? You guys, you know this. You can have, there's 3 things, right? Location, a job you love, and a commute. You can have 2 of the 3. You can't have all 3. Maybe that's an LA quote. I think it's an LA quote. You can have a job, you can have a place you love to live, and you can have a commute. And you can't have them all.
Big tip. The commute is real. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I drive up here from Newport Beach.
But you love your job.
Love it.
And you love where you live.
I do.
And you have a crappy commute.
Yeah. I mean, I think even, I don't know anywhere in LA that you don't have a commute, really. I mean,
it's not even an issue.
There's sometimes it takes you an hour to get from where you are, and you're, 7 miles away from here or something?
It's true. If I leave Beverly Hills at 5:30, especially on a Friday, it will take me an hour to go across town 10 miles.
Yeah, it's 10 miles.
Yeah, it's 10 miles. I had a friend she'd come and gotten some Botox with me, and then we were going to go back to my place to hang out for the night, and she was driving behind me, and we got back to my house, and she was like, I cannot believe I just spent an hour to drive this distance. Welcome to LA.
Yeah. It was the middle of the day one day, and I was trying to go to, by the way, this sounds like the Californians.
Yeah.
So I had to go.
Took the 405 to Sepulveda.
Yeah, and take the 2 all the way up. But I had to go over to North Hollywood, where my son was doing that rock and roll fantasy camp. And I was here, and I looked at the time, and I was like, oh, no problem. He goes on in 45 minutes. Piece of cake. It's only 6.5 miles away. I just arrived. And it was at 1 in the afternoon. Just you can't.
There's no telling.
Yeah, well, and if you get out of town, you'll find it. Like a lot of our fellows have gone to, some are in Orange County.